I'm Yena Hwang. I am 44 years old. I was born in Suwon, South Korea. I came to the States when I was 11 years old with my dad and my sister, who was 4.5 at the time. And my mom came 6 months after the three of us came first. My mom and dad both wanted to immigrate to Canada at first, apparently, when I was maybe 1 or 2. But they were swindled. And the reason why they wanted to go to either Canada or later on to America was because they really felt that Korea couldn't offer them and offer us what American education system would offer or Canadian education system would offer. It was more important who you know and how much money you had, and things like that in Korea. And they were really discouraged. They were hardworking people, so they just wanted to make sure that my sister and I, were given different opportunities than the ones that they had. And I think it mattered to them that we were girls, that they wanted us girls to have better education opportunities. And they didn't think that that would be the case in Korea. My parents are somewhat unusual.
In what way?
I didn't think they were very unusual when I was growing up, because my parents were, my dad especially, very affectionate. They were affectionate with each other. They held hands in front of us, would peck each other on the cheek. So I just thought that was like how all parents were. But apparently a lot of Korean parents were not very good at displaying physical affection. I remember when I was 16, I had my wisdom tooth pulled out. And my dad had to, drive me back because I had anesthesia and all that. And when I finally woke up, I was in my room, I woke up and I look over and there's a vase full of flowers with a card next to it. And it was from my dad saying, 사랑니 뽑은 우리 큰딸, I hope that as a result of this, you grow even wiser, or something like that, to that effect, and the flowers were from him. So very sweet. They never made me feel like I couldn't be anything or couldn't do anything because of my gender. And they were very supportive of whatever I wanted to try. When I wanted to study English literature in undergrad, at first they were, well, what are you going to do with an English major? And they were worried. But they didn't stop me. They didn't force me to be pre-med or pre-law or things like that, which a lot of my friends were experiencing. It was always kind of, I know you will find your way. We're here for you. I started serving the church when I was 16 years old as a Sunday school teacher. So I guess somewhere along the line, someone said, Yena should go to seminary. She should become a pastor. My mom said she was so offended. And she said to her, why would you say that? Why would you want someone with such great gifts to go to a seminary and waste it? All parents think that their children are great and smart and all that. Right. But for her, it was really, she just did not want me to suffer. 고생해. She knew that even as a man, it's hard to go down that path. So as a woman, it will be even harder. But they allowed room for Holy Spirit to do what Holy Spirit does. I'm not going to get preachy about that, but really they had faith. I went into this really
21-year-old?
21-year-old view of the world and faith, very naive, lived a very sheltered life. Under my parents' wings, and growing up in church. It was just church, home, really not much, experiences out there. I remember we had a meeting in our living room, and people sitting around trying to hold on to these parents, because if they left, it would really be devastating to our small church. And it was in this meeting, I don't know what came over me. I said, I will help. I will meet with these middle schoolers and we will have some kind of youth fellowship. How about that? So I started to meet with them. And then we were able to hire a 전도사님 for a brief moment, so then I took a break. So in that process, I was kind of thinking, okay, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do after I graduate? And all of those kind of added up to, I feel really called to serve God. And if I'm going to serve God, whether as a volunteer or whatever, I better know what I'm doing. So I didn't go to seminary thinking, I need to get an MDiv so that I could be an ordained minister and do this. It was more like, I need to know what this is all about. I knew that there were people who were against me going to seminary because of my gender. It was novelty, for many people, even to me, actually, for me. But that was really difficult, and I was really angry with all the remarks of sexism that was coming through. So I had experienced it like that, but serving a church, my first experience was as a Sunday school director. And this is how it would manifest itself. In Korean churches, Sunday school, a lot of times if it's a little bit of bigger Sunday school, they have their own worship. So they don't worship with the adults. So either the Sunday school director or 전도사 would do entire worship service just with children. And so that's one of the things that I had to do in this internship position. And I would notice this young guy that would come, and I knew that he was working with the youth group and volunteering. But he would come and kind of like hang around and then leave. And I was like, what's his deal, right? And it happened a couple times, and then he wanted to meet with me. Mind you, I had already interviewed with the senior pastor and gotten this position, right? I don't know who he was. And he sat me down and basically interrogated me on my theology. He wanted to know where I stood because he wanted to make sure that I did not lead those children astray. He told me that he had a bad experience of another seminarian, a female seminarian who was too liberal. And I said to my colleagues, my friends at the time, he would not have done that to another male 전도사. He would not have done that. And he felt that he could because I was a woman. And sexism comes in so many different ways. And it's just being able to name them, but also deal with it in a way that's gracious. That's hard at times. I think it's hard being a Korean American women pastor. There's this aspect of always having to prove yourself too. Some things come much more readily given to male pastors that are not for female pastors. I have to really prove that I can preach. I can be just as a powerful preacher as a male colleague, or even a better preacher actually. And the opportunities are few and far in between for women to preach to a larger group of people that is outside of our congregation. I feel like I could make a greater impact being outside of church sometimes. But I feel like there's no other place that I can make the kind of connection that I do outside of church either. So I go back to that question all the time. I question my sense of call all the time, especially as my theology gets more and more liberal. I wonder, do I really have to be in the church to do this? Maybe I can have greater impact elsewhere. But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. St. Augustine said that Hope, Mother Hope, has two daughters. One is named anger, and one is named courage. And when these two meet, the anger is angry at the way things are. But courage is overcoming the fear to do something about it so that we are no longer just angry, right? It's this kind of hope that I hold on to. And with this hope, we can make change. Not just pie in the sky kind of, I hope things will get better, but really work towards change. And I feel really that there are so many talented, gifted people out there, Korean Americans and non-Koreans alike, that are doing that kind of work, hope-filled work. My name is Yena Hwang, and this is my Korean American story.